This episode of the BlockHash Podcast is brought to you by Sumsub, the leading full-cycle verification platform built specifically for the crypto industry. Trusted by 8 out of the 10 biggest global exchanges, Sumsub helps VASPs, exchanges, and DeFi platforms prevent fraud, stay compliant, and scale globally, all without slowing down user onboarding. With instant KYC and KYB, automated crypto transaction monitoring, and full travel rule compliance across a network of more than 1,800 VASPs, Sumsub adapts fast to evolving threats and regulations. They verify over 14,000 document types worldwide and onboard users in under 20 seconds, achieving conversion rates up to 95% plus in key markets. If you want secure growth and a frictionless onboarding experience for your users, visit sumsub.com to learn more. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode here of the BlockHash Podcast, your #1 resource for all that is happening across the emerging tech space. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe wherever you listen to or watch the show. Today I'm joined by another fantastic guest, Erald Ghoos, CEO of OKX Europe. Erald, welcome to the show, man. It's a pleasure to have you on today. How you doing?
Thank you for having me on, Brandon.
Likewise. I'm excited to chat with you about OKX Europe and learn a little bit more about what you guys are focused on here in 2026 and some interesting aspects as well that I have outlined that we'll go into. Before we do, we'd love to learn a bit about yourself. If you don't mind sharing a bit about your background maybe and how you kind of wound up in the Web3 crypto world. And everyone usually has an interesting story, so just kind of curious to hear yours.
Don't know how interesting mine is, but happy to take the viewers and listeners through a little bit of my background. So I'm now in OKX Europe for about 3 years, based in Malta. Malta is a small island in the Mediterranean in Europe. Before that, I was also heading up Europe for another one of our competitors in Europe. I started my crypto career back in 2017 when I was the Chief Operating and Chief Compliance Officer for one of our other competitors. I was based in Hong Kong. 2017 was also the year when I moved from more traditional finance into the crypto blockchain industry. Before 2017, I was doing bank startups in different European countries. Originally, I'm from Belgium. I have a background in computer science, moved out of Belgium in my early 20s, been living a little bit all over the place ever since. And now, as I mentioned, in the last 3 years, working for OKX in Europe. So yeah, that's a little bit in a nutshell, my background and my high level career trajectory.
Excellent. And what kind of led to OKX Europe? Did you come across them? Did they come across you? How did that synergy come about?
After my previous company, it was Binance. By the way, I left them and I was a little bit taking a bit of a sabbatical. I was traveling through Southeast Asia. Spent quite some time in Vietnam, also met my wife there. And then at some moment in time, OKX, they were looking for a head of Europe to lead their European business. I was referred to by some ex-colleagues of mine. OKX reached out to me. We had some interesting discussions. And then they made an offer. Then I moved from Vietnam to Malta, and the rest is history, right? Something that I definitely don't regret. It's been a great journey since I joined OKX.
And then what would you say maybe as a crypto exchange is the main mission for OKX, and maybe what also kind of makes you guys a bit different and separates you from other exchanges that are out there?
I think, therefore, we have to understand a little bit more of the history of how crypto and blockchain has evolved since its inception back in 2010, 2011, whenever we really consider the start of crypto and blockchain. So in the first, I think, decade, crypto was more of the, trying to find its footing, unregulated, a bit more of the wild, wild west. Then I think 3 to 4 years ago, more regulatory oversight started to happen in different jurisdictions around the world. Europe, known as one of the more proactive regulators, they started to also come up with crypto regulations in different European countries, not necessarily all harmonized or with the same objectives or with the same level of scrutiny. Then Europe also evolved into a more harmonized crypto regulation, we as OKX, we then also realized that the future of crypto and digital assets would be much more the regulated way, right? If people want to on-ramp their fiat into a crypto exchange, you still need to do that through the traditional financial system. So in that regard, we need to make sure that we comply with local laws and regulations. So we as OKX, wherever there is like globally crypto regulatory frameworks in place or in the making, we then have also decided as a group we would go in locally, we would set up a local entity, we would hire a team of local experts, and we then would also try to apply for the local regulatory seal of approval, whether that is in the country a license, a registration, or any other kind of form that gives you the regulatory approval to operate in that market. Now, as OKX, we've already done that successfully in several jurisdictions around the world, in the US in some states, in Europe, in Turkey, in Singapore, in Australia, in Japan, in Dubai. We are all fully regulated by the local financial regulators and bodies. So in order for us to operate, we always will follow the regulatory path. So that is also something what I think shapes us, right? That wherever there is crypto regulatory framework in place or possible to comply with, we will comply, and we will fully operate under the local laws and regulations.
Awesome. No, I think it's great that you guys really follow that regulatory framework wherever that's laid out for you guys. A lot of first gen exchanges, I think, prioritize growth and speed over a lot of things, and sometimes at the expense of transparency and controls. And we've seen what that's kind of happened in the space over time. How do you think OKX is building trust in handling things like risk management a bit different as the market has kind of matured over time?
Trust is something that it's gained, right? It's not given. As OKX, we have already been in the game, in the industry for what is it now, 12, 13 years since our inception. Not always under the brand of OKX. We had previously also other brand name like OKCoin and OKEX. But we have been a very long and established industry player. I think, in our lifetime of since when we've been operating in the space, we've always been putting our consumers, our users, their trust and their availability to our platform and comfort and security as a top priority. We know that also in the past there were some bad actors in the space. This is also why we noticed that, or why we also welcome regulatory oversight, so that there are some guardrails being built to safeguard the consumers and also to allow more institutional funds to come into this whole blockchain and crypto industry. Because of course, they also have their obligations, they also have their regulatory oversight and guidelines to comply with. So also for industry players like banks, pension funds, insurances, funds, it's very important for them as potentially even stock traded or exchange traded companies to comply with the regulatory standards. So in that sense, that regulatory framework was really welcome for us, also to further instill on this avenue of trust that we've been working on over the last decade. So in that sense, trust. We also produce already since, what is it now, the last 39 or 14 months, that we every month publish our strategic proof of reserves. What is that? That is like a cryptographic evidence that we publish on our website, where our clients and everybody else who wants to see it can see, the backing of that all the users' funds are kept or at least a 1-to-1 ratio on our platform. So already in the last 39 or 40 months, every month we can publish our proof of reserves with a more than 100% backing of user funds on our platform. That is something that definitely instills trust. that also is a testament to our transparency that we have and that we want to boast. Next to that, we also have a couple of websites and reputable vendors. One of them is also like, I think it's CoinGecko, that gave us a 10 out of 10 on a trust score compared to all of some of the other exchanges in which we are absolutely leading. So in that sense, I think like from OKX point of view, we are also very, very focused on transparency and trust. Our founder, Star, is also quite transparent when it comes to his communications on social media, about what's in his mind, the visions that he has. He clearly articulates them and is always very willing to share them with his followers on social media.
Awesome. Yeah, I think it's great that you guys really emphasize building that trust and transparency here. It's really key here in the markets. I think it gives users a lot more, makes them feel much better about what they're doing with their money and investing into the crypto space. But speaking of regulations too, I mean, Europe now has a level of regulatory clarity with MiCA, so might as well touch on that as well. How does MiCA kind of change, I think, for institutions considering entering the crypto market, the landscape in Europe, and how might this shift capital and innovation toward Europe a bit more, not just towards some other local jurisdictions? I think that's got to be a major advantage for you guys because you're a bit ahead of some other places.
From a regulatory point of view, I think indeed having this MiCA license, and we were one of the first global exchanges in Europe to get that MiCA license. I think it was a framework that started January 1st last year. We were able to get that MiCA license on January 27th. Then, of course, it also follows with a passporting regime that we can passport our license from Malta to the other 27 EU member states. Now, there are some pros and cons, in my opinion, that I've already noticed in 1 year of operating under this MiCA license. And particularly something that I want to take a few minutes to explain also on the listeners and viewers on the other side of the Atlantic is, in the US, a lot of licensing still works on a state level, and you can operate then for that service that you want to bring in that specific state. Now, when it comes in Europe to financial services, you can get a bank license, for instance, in Germany, and then go through a process called passporting and then passport that license throughout all the other countries in Europe with that one single license. So the same now applies for the crypto license, the MiCA license, the Markets in Crypto Assets license. So now we can get a license in one country and then operate and offer our services throughout the whole European Union. So which is great, wonderful, because else if you have to go for different licenses in each of the countries or states, it's from a regulatory, from a legal, from an efficiency point of view, very difficult and a very costly and time-consuming undertaking. So in that sense, MiCA is great. Now, that's one of the good things under MiCA. It harmonizes crypto regulation in all of the European countries. Now, where it is less good, in my opinion, those are two things. First, we were quite, in Europe, one of the first to come up with this crypto regulation. There were some things that MiCA did good, that did not good, where it was quite strict, where there was like quite heavy on capital requirements, on controls, on safeguards. I think the new acts that are now being passed in the US are probably a little bit more flexible to continue on innovation and also on attracting talent. In Europe, it's quite rigid and definitely some room for keeping some openness for continued innovation. So in that sense, I think some of the US acts are more innovation friendly. The other thing what I don't really value on MiCA is that it puts a very heavy burden and difficulty on new market entrants. So if you are a new startup and you have a great idea to do something in crypto that requires a MiCA license, the capital requirements are very high. The complexity to comply with all the regulatory requirements are crazy high. So in that sense, it does give a protection to the market entrants who are already in Europe operational, because it also saves those local players against new competition, but it also limits innovation. And this is what I am very passionate about, and what I think all of us in the industry want to continue nurturing and seeing develop over time is more innovation. So I foresee that now over the next few years, until MiCA is more adjusted to the innovative component, a lot of the innovation will continue to happen in the US and in Asia. I think Europe kind of like limits itself by having such a strict requirement to comply with MiCA, that most of the crypto and digital asset innovation, between brackets also the AI innovation, is going to happen in the US and in Asia. So those are for me a little bit more of the good things and the bad things about MiCA. Now the second part of your question on the capital inflows, retail, and this is probably also more market driven, and because the crypto market at this moment is what it is. So from a retail point of view, much less retail interest. But because we are now also having the MiCA license, that also gives us the regulatory seal of approval for big institutional players, we now see a much higher, a huge inflow from funds from that institutional segment into crypto. Much more interest, much more looking for collaborations, custody solutions, crypto payment methods that a lot of institutional and merchants are looking for now. So it is becoming more of a day-to-day mainstream payment method, custody method, investment method. So in that sense, more interest from an institutional side, what we've seen since MiCA, than on the retail side. But that could also be probably a little bit market condition related.
Time for a quick shout out to today's sponsor, Sumsub. Crypto is global, fast moving, and full of emerging threats. You need a verification partner that moves even faster. Sumsub combines blockchain intelligence, identity verification, and behavioral fraud detection into one powerful platform. So you can screen, score, and monitor users at every step. Their AI-powered system detects anomalies, account takeovers, and illicit wallet activity before transactions hit the blockchain, giving your compliance team superpowers. Trusted by 4,000 plus clients across fintech and crypto, Sumsub helps organizations expand into new markets with confidence while maintaining full compliance with global regulations. Whether you're scaling an exchange, launching a DeFi product, or securing a Web3 community, Sumsub has you covered. Check them out today at sumsub.com. Yeah, I think it's great to hear about both sides to MiCA, because I don't think we always get to get that perspective. And I guess when you're first at the table with something, you can stomp out fraud and scams and things like that and try to legitimize a space, but at the same time, you sacrifice certain things like growth and innovation and make it much more difficult. Like the watermark for getting involved or capital constraints can be much higher, like you mentioned. So that's interesting. Are there any initiatives or movements to maybe amend certain parts of MiCA over time, or is that something that's just very set in stone for the near future?
What we've seen so far is that in Europe, regulations rarely become lighter, right? It's always adding more complexity, rules, and safeguards to it. Although I think it was last month that there was the World Economic Forum in Davos, where also the Chancellor of Germany, Mr. Schulz, he also publicly mentioned on the stage of the World Economic Forum that Europe is, on the brink of economical, collapse, and that it's not for once, the US or China that is to blame. It is Europe that is to blame for overregulation, bureaucracy, stifling innovation around blockchain, around AI. So he was also, calling out other European leaders to ensure, that we don't continue harming our European economy, and that we stay innovative and continue to welcome industry and innovation and new technologies. So this is the first time that I hear from a very important European leader that kind of fresh narrative. So let's see if that also is adopted by the rest of the European leaders and ultimately trickles down into the lawmakers and to the shaping of new laws and regulation. But it's very refreshing that Mr. Schulz from the largest economy of Europe, Germany, mentioned that and was critical about the trajectory that Europe has been on in the last few years. So fingers crossed that the lawmakers will also take this into account and that we really see a change in policy in Europe to be less strict and rigid on some of those policies and regulations that they have been making. And maybe for once not take the driver's seat when it comes to regulation on something, but maybe we can wait for another jurisdiction to regulate something first, and then for once learn what works and what doesn't work from that regulation and take it into new regulations that we adopt in Europe. Because don't get me wrong, I really am in favor of regulating the financial industry to build safeguards and controls and to also remove the bad apples from the space, right? This was something that was absolutely necessary, but it shouldn't come at a cost of innovation or making it so difficult for new players in the market that they just simply cannot enter. I think that is a little bit of a step too far.
Absolutely. And I think it's a positive sign too. It shows a level of education, I think further understanding of the space from where it was at before. So hopefully that, again, trickles down and carries over to other policymakers and lawmakers, and maybe that can ease up a bit in the future or even change for Europe. But that's a positive sign. Pivoting away from regulation, we'd love to talk about a couple features here with OKX. I know you guys are launching a card, which I think is pretty cool. Can you tell us a bit more about this card launch, maybe how this will change the way people can actually spend crypto, whether it's at a retailer or whatnot, and maybe also what barriers does it kind of start to remove for the first time?
So a crypto card is definitely not the first time that a product like this has been brought to market. Where our product is different, that it is a crypto card from a self-hosted wallet, right? So you can use it you can load funds from your main crypto wallet in OKX, and you can fund your self-hosted wallet, to which you then have also a virtual card where you can then spend at any merchant that's accepting, MasterCard. Personally, I've launched in my past with some of my previous crypto companies that I worked for, also two card programs. This is by far, my preferred card. It's the lowest in fees, like there's no hidden fees, no costs to it. You don't have to lock up any token. You don't have to do any weird movements or conversions. It's just a very simple stablecoin card, very easy to use, great benefits, great cashback, and a card that is absolutely free. First time that I have a card of that. So even though it's my own company, but it's the card that I have top of my wallet, top of my Apple Wallet. So wonderful product, great crafted design as well. Very passionate about how it works. In that sense, we also bolted onto the card from this self-custody wallet a product what we call OKX Pay. OKX Pay is something that we now are also rolling out in Europe. It's a tool that also allows to pay your friends with crypto, to transfer money, to remit money to anywhere who has also an OKX account. So that's the OKX Pay, the OKX Card product that we're now also rolling out in Europe. Adoption quite high. So far, we see a lot of people signing up and activating the card. The recurring use that we see after having launched the card, what is it now, for 2 to 3 weeks, the recurring use is fantastic. Over 70% of our clients continue using the card, for multiple purchases. Highest number that I've seen so far in any of the crypto companies that I've worked for. So great testament of the success, the usability, the low fees of the card. So great product. And I think also my ethos working in crypto has always been that people have in their life, they can only encounter ever 3 financial needs. The first financial need is that you want to pay and you want to get paid. You want to pay and you want to get paid. So you want to pay as you go to a shop, you want to pay for groceries, you go to Starbucks, you want to pay for your coffee, and you also want to be able to receive money from friends, family, from your employer. You want to get your salary paid. So that is one use case where we in OKX also constantly focus on building use cases, products, and services for the pay and get pay use case, for which I think that our OKX Pay and our OKX Card are great products and services. Then the other financial use case that somebody can have or encounter in their life is to accrue wealth, right? Like getting an interest on a savings account, investing in bonds or in stocks or buying Bitcoin and having it go up. Those are all instruments to accrue wealth. This is obviously something, that, we at OKX are very strong in. This has been our bread and butter. We have our earn products, our yield bearing products, our, investment products and stuff like that. So that's also something that we've been, since our inception, really focusing on. And then the third financial use case, something that, let's say, not everybody, but 90 to 95% of the people in the world will ever encounter, is borrowing or lending, right? Like some people are lucky enough that they'll never have to, borrow money for a house or for a car. But let's say most of us, we at some moment in time will have to have like a credit card. We need to, get a mortgage for our house. We want to borrow some money for a car or for a dishwasher or something like that. So around all those 3 financial needs, me in Europe, I'm very focused on building solutions, products, and services that help our clients with solving those 3 financial use cases ever. And pay and card are definitely key instruments for that first financial need, to pay and to get paid.
Yeah, I think that's really fascinating. I think the card and the pay have a really good mutual benefit there too. Is OKX Pay mostly meant to be peer-to-peer between individuals, or is that something that also could be used for a business, maybe to accept payment from a client, to pay a vendor, to pay a contractor? Could it have like a use case there?
First phase, indeed, more retail, peer-to-peer. But we're also working on expanding that use case, indeed, as you suggest, for more business to business, and also business to consumer. For instance, like at a terminal, integrating in certain checkout websites, but then also from a business to staff, for instance. What we're now exploring is payroll solutions, settlements between companies, between banks. So in that sense, we have the rails already available. We're now looking more at building up actual financial use cases, not to go too broad, but to go quite deep in one segment, be successful in that segment, and then further elaborate on more use cases. So in that sense, we're actively working on things. Stay tuned, because we probably will soon also be making some very interesting announcements and announce some partnerships in that sense.
Excellent. And then the cashback on the card, is that cashback in stables, in Bitcoin? Do you get to choose the cashback, or how does that work?
The cashback is in USDG, so it's in stable. It goes to the self-hosted wallet, and then it's a tier-based cashback dependent on your VIP level. You get more cashback. Yeah. So that's the model.
Okay, cool. And then I thought lending was very interesting. Is that something that's more like you mentioned, you need to borrow money for something? Maybe it's a car, maybe it's a mortgage, or is it more of like an installment type ordeal where like for example, Klarna, a firm, or like pretty popular in the US. Would it be something like that, like for a consumer purchase, like they wanted to buy a bag at Louis Vuitton and it's $3,000, or they wanted to get a new washing machine or something for $1,500 and they could like expense it out that way?
Ultimately, this is something that I'm exploring in Europe. In order to give credit and that type of consumer loans, you need to have a credit institution license, right? Which is basically a bank license. Difficult to achieve, difficult to obtain in Europe for a crypto company. So it's something that where we still need a little bit more innovation and regulatory goodwill in order to get to that level. But it's something that we're also working on.
What about on the small business side? I imagine lending for a small business might be really popular.
Very popular. And there are some ways around it where you can do more of the P2P lending, where you're not really the institution of, the credit institution, but more the facilitator, the technical layer in the middle to facilitate lending and borrowing between some of those small and medium enterprises and then investors or the retail segment. So this is something that is also definitely an interesting use case that we can look at. But first, what I would be keen on is exploring the actual consumer loans, right? But then regulatory difficulties that we face in Europe is that the license, the required license that you need for that. So there we still need probably a little bit more time, where there will be more of a convergence between the traditional finance, banking sector and the crypto space, that there will be more of a convergence there. I think it will happen over time, probably not in the first 1 to 2 years, but eventually I think there will be more of an alignment. We've seen some of the neobanks in Europe also now already going quite strong in crypto. Also now more of the brick and mortar, the mainstream banks in Europe, also now dipping their toe more into crypto, more of a stable coin. Some banks in Europe, they've already recently started to also offering Bitcoin and ETFs to their retail or VIP segment. So we definitely see there is more of a move and willingness to step into that crypto space as well from the traditional banking partners.
Yeah, speaking of that convergence, actually, what do you think the next phase here kind of looks like for crypto infrastructure, whether that's the retail level, institutional level, and which layers do you think are going to matter the most here as we kind of further evolve into this industry?
I think it was, who was it? Jamie Dimon, that a couple of days ago, he also mentioned on live TV that the testing phase, I think as he called it, of blockchain and crypto and Bitcoin is over, right? It's serious. And he also recognized that Bitcoin, crypto, blockchain is far superior than the traditional fiat rails. Something like that coming from Jamie Dimon, who now made 180, who was in the beginning, like a couple of years ago or even months ago, still, one of the strongest, haters of crypto and blockchain, now saying that it's technology and an industry that is far superior over traditional banking. I mean, that capitulation, if Jamie Dimon can make that 180, I think everybody can make that capitulation. So I do believe if JP Morgan, goes down the crypto, Bitcoin, blockchain avenue, many more of the other traditional banks, they will follow. The old rails, the SWIFT system, the old, banking routes, that are just available during working hours, not available during weekends or in the evenings or at night. a lot of control, no transparency, high costs, a lot of intermediate parties and banks and approvals that are needed, to a very transparent, no cost, always on blockchain infrastructure. Obviously, it is superior. Obviously, now, banks are also starting to understand it's the power, the efficiency. And now we also see in Europe, if we look into some of those employment portals like LinkedIn, so many banks in Europe that are looking for blockchain or crypto experts. It's really heating up now, the hunt for the right talent, also by traditional banks that are looking for crypto talent. So you can clearly see that there is like much more convergence happening now. It's actually happening now, right? It's not like, oh, we predict it's going to happen. No, that convergence is taking place.
Excellent. So what's on the horizon for OKX Europe this year? Do you have any important upcoming announcements, launches, new products, features? What do you want users to be aware of?
One thing, there is a very big thing coming, for which we are now in the last moments before we can announce it. We've been for the last something months or a little bit over a year working on a very interesting license, a financial license that we soon will be announcing, that will also allow us to offer a very interesting suite of services and products, very much focused on the more advanced traders, institutional businesses in Europe. So that's a product or a service that we'll soon be launching. If you remember those 3 financial needs that I earlier mentioned, it will be quite specific to the second financial need, the accruing wealth type of use case that this product or this suite of products will be tailored to. So I don't want to say too much, or I don't want to be like the one who is announcing the announcement, but yeah, stay tuned, follow OKX in Europe, and it's going to be a very, very interesting product announcement that we will be making soon.
We'll keep our eyes out for it, and you'll have to come back on for a part 2 once it comes out, because it sounds exciting. Any events, conferences that you guys may be attending or plan to attend here in 2026?
For me, I will be quite heavy on attending some of the European events. Difficult to say which ones at this moment in time. More of a personal security thing, because I don't know whether you've been following what's happening in Europe, but there's been quite a few abductions and kidnappings and home invasions that happened with some crypto senior executives throughout Europe, mostly in France. I think there was recently another one in France, even from, maybe it was like the CEO of Binance in France, whose home got invaded. So for own personal safety, I don't want to announce too much in advance, like where I'll be going. But definitely we will be attending a lot of the conferences in Europe. It's always great to speak, to announce our products, to advocate for blockchain, for crypto, to get our brand awareness a little bit strengthened, and also to hear from the community and from our users, what they care about, how good we're doing, where we can improve. So it's always good to mingle with the communities.
Excellent. And where's the best place to go to keep up with everything that's going on with OKX Europe this year? Is the website just the best place to go for everything? Should they go check out socials? You have community?
The website, we have, dependent on the popularity of social media channels in the different European countries, we try to cater as much to what people in the different European countries prefer. For instance, some countries in Europe, they like Facebook, some countries like X, some countries like Instagram. So it's quite tailored to the local preferences. So for everybody in the countries in Europe, please, just check on the local social channels which are popular. OKX and then underscore, your country, and you'll definitely find us.
Excellent. Well, Erald, I appreciate the time today. It's been great learning more about what you guys are up to here in 2026 for OKX Europe. Talking about the regulation side, I think it's great to get more insight there and where things kind of stand and what you guys are doing in terms of building strong trust and transparency, and learning about MiCA, learning about the card launch. You guys got some exciting stuff coming up, so definitely keep me updated. Would love to have you back on for a part 2 in the near future. And if we're lucky, maybe we'll cross paths at one of these events too, and we can do an in-person episode.
That would be great. Brandon, thank you very much, and appreciate that you had me on your show.